If you were to walk into a quiet library in the United States and open an old history book, there's a name you'd find almost immediately: Abraham Lincoln. His portrait is on the $5 bill, his memorial towers over Washington, D.C., and his words are engraved into the nation's memory. But behind the statues and the speeches was a man who began life in the humblest way possible. Abraham Lincoln was born in 1809 in a one-room log cabin in rural Kentucky. There was no wealth, no education, and no privilege waiting for him. His family lived off the land, surviving through hard labor. And yet, even as a boy, Lincoln had a peculiar hunger, the desire to understand the world. He devoured books whenever he found them, reading by firelight after long days of farm work. Neighbors would later say he would walk miles just to borrow a single book. But life didn't slow down for reflection. His family moved from Kentucky to Indiana, and then to Illinois, each time seeking better opportunities. Lincoln grew into a tall, lanky young man, known for his honesty, his strength, and his dry humor. When he wasn't working as a rail splitter or a store clerk, he joined debates asking big questions about law, justice, and right and wrong. It was in those dusty frontier towns that he discovered his gift, his voice. Lincoln eventually became a lawyer, traveling from town to town with his law books and a simple carpetbag. He had no formal education, yet he studied the law deeply, building his reputation as a man who could untangle complicated disputes with fairness and clarity. His honesty became legendary. People began to call him Honest Abe, not as a nickname, but as a genuine description. As Lincoln's reputation grew, so did his sense of responsibility toward the country. America at the time was divided, not just by geography, but by the deeply painful issue of slavery. Lincoln entered politics believing that the nation could not survive half free and half enslaved. He spoke with a calm conviction that caught the attention of the entire nation. Then in 1860, against all odds, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States. But his victory didn't calm the nation, it fractured it. Southern states seceded from the Union before Lincoln even arrived in Washington, and soon the American Civil War erupted, placing Lincoln at the helm of the most devastating conflict in the nation's history. Throughout the war, Lincoln carried unimaginable weight. He visited soldiers, wrote hundreds of letters, and spent countless nights without sleep. He often walked to the telegraph office to read battlefield updates as they arrived. He felt every loss deeply, knowing that each life was a family's heartbreak. Yet during this darkest period, Lincoln delivered words that would become immortal. Standing on the battlefield of Gettysburg, where tens of thousands had fallen, he reminded the nation why they fought, so that a government of the people, by the people, for the people would not perish. In 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring enslaved people in Confederate states to be free. It was not just a military decision, it was a moral turning point. The war became not only a fight for unity, but a fight for human dignity. And Lincoln knew it. By 1865, the end of the war was in sight. Lincoln spoke often about healing, about bringing the country back together with malice toward none, with charity for all. It seemed the nation might finally exhale after years of bloodshed. But destiny had other plans. On April 14, 1865, just days after the Union's victory, Abraham Lincoln went to Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. for an evening of respite. There, he was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, The president who guided the country through its greatest crisis never got to see the peace he worked so tirelessly to achieve. When Lincoln died the next morning, an entire nation mourned. People lined the streets for miles as his funeral train traveled from Washington back to Illinois. It wasn't just the death of a leader. It felt like the loss of a father. Today, Abraham Lincoln is remembered not because he was perfect, but because he was profoundly human.